Alright. Well, I'm bringing this video to you and I'm being the bearer of bad news. I would like to have a 3-second moment of silence some point during this video to mourn the world's, well, maybe not the world's, Britain's worst car boot haul. Before I show you the car boot haul, this is not necessarily anything to do with the car boot haul or anything like that. I just figured I'd put something interesting to look at, or as interesting as a super truck can be, whilst I explain some of today's shenanigans. So, basically, I went to Britain's worst car boot today. There was probably, I would say, around 50 cars there maybe, and I managed to find 3 things that I wanted. There appears to be a police chase going on outside. It must be the good car boot police. Hello, I'd like to report an awful car boot police. Generally, the people going there, the atmosphere of the day was pretty upbeat. Not too bad, to be fair. Got there. It's one of those where you have to pay in an admission fee, like charity, whatever you want to put in. So you usually just put about 10 pence in or something like that. Went in and thought, oh, it's quite a few cars here. It's not the one that I normally go to. This is a much smaller one. And there was nothing there. It's just no toys. So I managed to rummage through some person's knick-knack thing that had nothing in it. And at the bottom there was Frostbite from G.I. Joe. And he cost me 10 pence. Well, actually it costed nearly £8 because I had to pay the bus fare to go and pay 10 pence for him. So he's in pretty decent condition, to be fair. I mean, I'm not unhappy with him. And that was it. That was it. The only other stall that had anything on that I was vaguely, even tiny bit interested in, is the stall that a season or 2 seasons ago I went to, and he had the gigantic Millennium Falcon, the really big, massive one that everyone seems to be getting for 10 quid. And I was thinking, oh hell, that's pretty nice. I'll go and see how much this guy wants for it. And he wanted it was either 60 or 80 pounds for it. And I just was like, are you kidding us? You're at a tiny car boot. Literally, nobody's going to have that kind of money on them. You've wasted your time bringing it. What are you thinking? Now, the toys that I got off him, he had it on him then, when I first ever saw this guy. So, he obviously doesn't sell them, because they're quite clearly ridiculously priced. Now, his wife, who's with him, is standing there going, get yourself some bargains, how are lads and lasses, get yourself our. So, I thought, well, I don't know, isn't the guy who was trying to rip people off before? So, wandered over, and he had a couple of figures. And people are picking stuff up and he's like, oh, that's this much, that's that much. And then he's coming out with some ridiculous patter, telling, oh, get your IKEA lights here, blah, 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 and all this. And it's literally a torch that's got half of its bits missing. Basically just a battery with a light on the end of it. And stuff oh, 3 quid this. And I was just thinking, hold on, one person's saying bargain and you're saying the other. Anyway, so I went over and I was like, how much are the toys? Now, I've picked these toys up from him in the past and asked him how much he wanted for them, and every time he's given us a different price. Picked this one up. It's Stop! Hammer Time! From The Lord of the Rings. Now, in the past, this guy's been 3 quid, 4 quid, 2 quid, and he's like, oh, £1. Oh, that's him from Thingy the Rings, isn't it? Type of thing. And I was like, aye. But I was waiting to see if he knew who it was, but I wasn't going to tell him. And I was like, alright, for £1 I'll take that, considering there's literally nothing else here. So, walking away with a 10 pence G.I. Joe figure, I don't think, that would have been literally, I'd have been walking down the street with the Hulk's music playing, whilst I'm crying. So, picks him up and stuff, and he had some Star Wars figures and stuff, and I was like, oh, how much for the Star Wars figures? And he was like, oh, £1.50. And then he's starting to tell us that, oh, the one you want to look for is the Darth Maul with the yellow top, because it was a mistake, and that one's worth loads of money. I read about it in a book I found, in 1985. I was like, eh? Darth Maul. 1985. Oh no, it must have been 1995. And I was like, right. Darth Maul, 1995. Phantom Menace came out in 1999, like. Oh, it must have been 2005 then. I know it had a 5 in it. So I'm just thinking, this guy stood there trying to tell people what they need to be looking for and what's worth money, as if he's like knows what he's talking about, so he can charge people ridiculous amounts of money for stuff that, I mean, this has been played with a kid. A child's had this. I mean, his legs are loose as out, half his bits and pieces are missing off him. Now, it's one I don't have, and I'm quite happy to pick him up for £1. But when you've got somebody who's trying to legitimately tell people they've got collectibles and stuff like that, when literally what they've done is they've picked it up from somebody else's stall who's had kids who's played with these toys, and like I say, he's never shifted anything in the whole time, bar these ones that I've bought off him today. And he's just like, you're an absolute idiot. If you're gonna buy something to sell on and make out you know what you're talking about, do your research, look into it, and then that way you know what you've got and you know what it's worth. Don't buy something that you think's worth something and then start making stuff up as if that's what you do. So the next thing is, I picked this up again. Now, in the past, like I say, this has been £3, £2 and all the rest of it. So I went, how much of this? Oh, it's Lost in Space. The other ones there from it. There was no other Lost in Space figures there, but apparently some person from Star Trek was from Lost in Space. And he's like, oh, it's Uma Thurman, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, it's not Uma Thurman, is it? And he's like, oh, is it not? I'm like, no, it's Heather Graham. And he's like, oh, are you I think it is, aye. How much? 50 pence? Aye, get on then. So, basically, £1.50 for those, and left him humiliated, because I just thought, nah, I'm not having it. I'm not having it. So that was the car boot haul. Ah, my God. Luckily, there was a sci-fi convention on, kind of halfway in between where the car boot is and where I live. So I thought, oh, well, on the way back, I'll pop in there, and sometimes I get the odd cool thing and stuff in there. Went in, and it was the exact same people who were there every single time with the exact same toys they bring every single time. And some of them, like, there's a guy who had, I think, 6 or 5 werebears. Now this guy, charges £5 for a Mumra type of style, like, ridiculous. Like, this guy charges the price that you'd pay if you were in a bidding war for something off eBay, and you were paying the postage on top. That's what this guy charges, and it's like, hold on, like, what are you doing? So I was like, how then, give us a laugh. How much do you want for the werebears? And he was like, oh, this one's £35, this one's £30, this one's £25 type of thing. And I was just thinking, you're never going to sell any of your stuff, are you? I think the trouble is with these people is that they don't want you to buy something off them for a better price than you could buy it elsewhere, for fear that you'll make a profit, or, kind of. My thing is, if you've got something that you can sell and you're going to sell it for a profit, doesn't matter if somebody else is then going to sell it for more profit, if as long as you're making money. If you're bringing boxes and boxes of stuff, which is literally taking you hours to set up, because I mean, this guy wasn't even set up, and this thing had been going for about 2 hours. So he's got that much stuff that he cannot set it up, so he cannot sell it whilst he's setting it up. He then has to unset it up, and he cannot be selling enough to make it worth his while, because he's got the same stuff that he had 4 years ago. Anyway, the one thing I did see, the woman had a table and it had things like McDonald's toys and a few other like really rubbish toys and stuff. And I was like, how much are the figures? And she's like, £1 each. And they had this knockoff guy on there, so I figured £1 for him. Yeah, go on, then I'll take him. So I give her £1 and took him. I did another lap of the room when I went back round. Basically where this guy had been, she'd put another figure out, which was the dog off, what do you call it, the Adventure Time or something. So I was like, I picked him up, and like started giving her £1, and she's like, "Oh no, that one's not £1." And I was like, "Well, there's no price on it, and you've just told us before that all these are £1." "Oh no, that one's £3." So I just flung it back down the table, and basically told her that, you know, didn't tell people something's £1 if you're then going to try and rip them off. So basically, there you go. I've had a very cracking day. Maybe we'll have that 3-second silence now, please. Safe to say I'll be going to the big car boot next week. This is... right. Thanks for watching, guys. Thanks for listening. Thanks for taking the time of your day to listen to the plight of mine. I'll see you all. Yes, I'm going to be looking through your cameras. Ta-da.